Hello and welcome to Study Abroad and School Experience. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about my educational experience, and I'm going to break this video into multiple videos because when I talk about school, I tend to get a bit winded and it drags. Yeah, I've been in school for mostly all of my life. I went to two different preschools, then I was elementary, high school, college, my first graduate program, my second graduate program, and then I'm currently in a research program. I'm gonna talk about all of those things, but in multiple videos and how I got here. And then in terms of like funding, applying to college, applying to graduate school, and then applying to research programs, I'm gonna do that. Like go, I guess, more in depth in separate videos, but this will just be like a longitudinal process of how I got to what I call my grand finale, which is what I'm currently working towards. So I stayed at the same elementary school for all years, so from kindergarten to 8th. I was at the same elementary school, but I went to two different preschools. I consider myself to be an average student, but 5th grade, that was my worst year academically, and that's because a lot was going on and around me, my surroundings, so that kind of trickled over into my education. But I consider myself an average student, and I would say that I excelled in college, especially my junior and senior year specifically. But for the most part, I have strengths and weaknesses just like everybody else. I'm better at certain subjects than others, just like everybody else. And then there's also variation between the subjects that I'm good at and not so good at, depending on the particular subject within a discipline. I could be better at it than I would say. I would just use algebra and statistics, for example. I didn't care for algebra, but geometry was good. Algebra 2 and trigonometry was also good, but algebra, no. I didn't take calculus, so I can't talk about calculus. College algebra. I didn't like college algebra, but statistics was grand. So yeah, that's what I mean about the variation. And then there was also some variation with me in certain sciences. So in high school and in college. So in terms of me going from elementary to high school, so in the 7th grade, the standardized test scores that students received in the 7th grade, those were important for high school. I wanted to be a doctor when I was little because I wanted to help people and then be financially secure, because generally speaking, doctors always have a job. They're always usually employed until they retire. So that was that. And I had one school that I wanted to go to that had nothing to do with the medical field. That was a selective enrollment school. I wanted to attend that school. But there were two schools in the city of Chicago at the time that had medical program, and one of the high schools that I actually attended was one of those two schools. So that school was on the far north side, and then the second school was on the far south side. I'm from the west side of Chicago, and at the time we were on the northwest side of the city, or most people just say the west side. But we were there, and in terms of commute, it would have been more beneficial. And I didn't want to go to school far out south anyway, so I decided to apply to this school for the medical program. I did an interview, and then I moved forward, and I was accepted into the program, so I went to that school because certain schools, they have where if you're not in the district, you can't attend the school, like you have a home school. My home school was on the west side, the school called, or if I'm not mistaken, that was my home school, but I didn't attend my home school. Anyway, so I went to this school for the medical program, but I was only in the program for 2 years because after my 16th birthday, we moved to Iowa, Coralville, Iowa. And so I started the second half by my 10th grade year in Iowa, and I attended a school called West High School in Iowa. They only had 2 high schools in Iowa City. I don't know what they have now, but it was West High School and City High. I went to West High School. So I did my sophomore year, the second half of my sophomore year, and then my junior year at West High School. I completed that, but I wasn't in a medical program. It was just regular courses, but their curriculum was a bit more advanced. The regular courses was a bit more advanced, and in a different video I'll talk about what I mean, because I don't want to be too winded in this video. So but we moved back to Chicago the second half of my junior year, and I went back to my old high school, but I wasn't back in the medical program. The coordinator who was there before, she no longer worked at the school. So I went from the medical program to a different school in a different city and state to back to Chicago, the same school, but I was in a different honors program this time. I went to the Paideia program. That was the honors program, the other honors program at my school. So I went from medical to Paideia at my main high school. And I graduated from the high school in that program. And in terms of college, I wanted to go to school in New York. I had a top school that I wanted to attend in New York, and I wanted to go there. And a part of applying for college, you have to apply for the ACT or the SAT, depending on where you are. I'll talk more about that later. But the school that I ended up going to was in downstate Illinois, and I attended that school because I received outside scholarships, and the school was also offering me funding, and I wouldn't have to pay anything if I went to the East Coast. Then I would have had to take out student loans, and student loans are considered good debt, but I didn't want to owe a lot of money, so I was like, no student loans at the time. So I stayed in state for school and for tuition purposes, so I wouldn't have to deal with any shenanigans. And I attended that school because of my high school guidance counselor. I wanted to go to school on the East Coast because I wanted to be on the East Coast, New York in particular, which is where I am now, not upstate, but in the 5 boroughs. And my high school guidance counselor, she knew this because I told her. So she typed on her computer. She thought it was one school in Illinois, but it wasn't. It was the college I actually attended. She gave me the application, said, here, fill this out. I knew nothing about that school, but I ended up going to that school. And I planned to declare my major as psychology, so I wanted to be a psych major, but at the last minute I changed my mind and went back to biology for whatever reason. I think it was the sense of security that being a doctor brings, a medical doctor anyway, which is why at the last minute I changed my mind, but I should have stuck with psychology. So I declared my major as biology with the intention of being pre-med, and my minor was computer science. I don't know why I did that, because I had never taken any courses in computer science, and even in college I didn't take any computer science courses. So I did bio for 2 years. I didn't really like bio for a lot of reasons. So before I changed my major, I decided to change my minor because I had taken some SOA courses at my school, sociology, anthropology at that school, but more so anthropology classes. They just had sociology and anthropology combined at that institution. So because I was interested in the anthro courses just based on the courses that I had taken, I became interested in the discipline and I changed my minor from computer science to anthropology. So I thought I would be content with the minor change and still be a bio major. And then the summer before my junior year of college, I contacted the school to change my major. And initially, I wanted to change my major to anthropology. However, at my school, anthropology wasn't a major. Sociology and anthropology combined was offered as a major. And that was because the the people, the instructors within each discipline, they felt like the subjects had more similarities than differences, so to speak. So they combined the two majors and made it to one. Although I feel like most the discipline at the time anyway, it was more anthro based, and that's only because most of the professors at that institution who fell under the sociology anthropology umbrella, most of them were anthropologists, or their work dealt with the anthropological side of the SOA discipline, and not sociology, so to speak. And most of the courses that I enrolled in from my freshman year as elective courses until I graduated, when I changed my major in the whole nine, they were anthropological in nature. So that's more so why I kind of lean to the anthropological side. I didn't really like sociology. I learned that out. I found, I learned that out. That doesn't make sense. I learned that a bit later, but yeah, so that was that. Once I found out that the thing that I couldn't major in just anthropology, I said, okay, so I'm going to just change my major to sociology anthropology, since that's what's been offered, because that's how it is at this school. So I changed my major and then I changed my minor. So I had taken some courses within the women and gender studies discipline, and a lot of the courses that I was enrolled with in the SOE discipline, they were like, what do I want to say? Like cross-disciplinary. So the courses were kind of weaved into each other, or the instructor or professor for that particular course, they felt like their content, their work fell within all three of those disciplines, so sociology, anthropology, and women and gender studies. So that really benefited me when I changed my minor, and I wanted to, like, not my major rather, and my minor, of course, when I wanted to have credits count for certain things like joint credits, have the points count for this and that, because when you're in college, there are a certain amount of elective course credits that you need, and then there are a certain amount of credits that you need for your major and then your minor, and that total amount is what you receive at the end of your usually 4 years. Some people finish in 3. It could be depending on that program. If they take a lot of classes and they get a lot of credits, but generally speaking, like undergraduates in the US, they give them 7 years to complete an undergraduate degree. Before, it's the traditional number, and some people complete it in 3. It depends on the school, the program, number of credits, all of that. So I came in with some college credits already, because I was a part of the College Bridge program in high school that allowed me to take college credits and then like get dual credit while in high school to count towards my high school education, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, I did biology and psychology. So those credits that I received when I graduated high school, that was already a part of my the blueprint for my college experience in terms of credits. So I had that automatically, the transfer credits. So I changed my major and my minor again. So my major went from biology to sociology, anthropology, and my minor went from computer science to anthropology to women and gender studies, which was a good deal. And then everything was like grand. And in terms of